Ramadan is a month of fasting and prayer. It brings us closer to Allah and each other. It brings us closer to Allah and each other.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen. Amma ba'd, fa'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. As-salatu wa salamu alayka ya Rasulallah. Wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah. As-salatu wa salamu alayka ya Nabi Allah. Wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nur Allah. The Prophet of mankind, the peace of our heart and mind, the most generous and kind, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam, has stated, the person closest to me on the day of judgment will be the one who would have recited salat upon me abundantly in the world. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Alhamdulillah azza wa jal, my dear viewers, in this beautiful silsila of the blessings of Ramadan, we discussed in the last episode in regards to the reward for fast. Inshallah azza wa jal, in this episode I shall discuss about the 3 levels of fasting. My dear viewers, through the apparent precondition of fast is to abstain from deliberately eating, drinking and intercourse. There are also some manners of fasting which you must get to know, so that we can succeed in acquiring all the blessings of fasting. There are the 3 degrees of fasting. Number 1, the fast of common people. Number 2, the fast of the pious. Number 3, the fast of the ascetic. Let's look at the fast of the common people. The literal meaning of fast is to abstain, while by Sharia it implies to abstain from deliberately eating, drinking and intercourse from dawn. In other words, Subh Sadiq to sunset. This is called the fast of the common people. Let's look at the fast of the pious. In addition to abstaining from eating, drinking and intercourse, avoiding all types of evils is the fast of the pious people. Now let's look at the fast of the ascetic. To refrain from all the worldly activities and devote oneself completely to the worship of Allah Azza wa Jal is the fast of the ascetic. My dear viewers, in addition to abstaining from eating and drinking, you must also prevent all of our body parts from sins. Sayyidina Data Ganj Bakhsh Ali Hajwari Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi has said, in actual fact, fast implies abstinence, which has many conditions, such as preventing the stomach from eating and drinking, preventing eyes from seeing someone lustfully, preventing ears from listening to backbiting, preventing the tongue from useless and inflammatory talking, preventing the body from disobeying Allah Azza wa Jal in any way, and so on. One can be called a true fasting person only when he fulfills all the aforementioned conditions. But unfortunately, most of our Islamic brothers and sisters do not follow the manners of fasting at all. They feel proud of remaining thirsty and hungry. Despite fasting, they commit such forbidden acts by Sharia, even though such a fast will be considered valid, but no one will be able to derive spiritual peace and pleasure from such a fast. But dear viewers, we must have pity on ourselves and ponder carefully. In Ramadan, the fasting person avoids eating and drinking during the day, which was absolutely permissible even during the day in other months. Now we have to ponder, even the acts such as eating and drinking, which were halal before Ramadan, are forbidden in this sacred month. So the acts which were already haram, such as backbiting, lying, telling tales, suspicion, abusing, watching films, etc., shaving the beard or trimming it less than a fist length, misbehaving with parents, hurting others without the permission of Sharia, will automatically become even more severely haram. When a fasting person refrains from eating and drinking pure and clean foods in Ramadan, why does he not refrain from unlawful, haram acts? So if a person avoids eating and drinking in Ramadan, but does not avoid unlawful acts leading to hell, then what type of fasting person is this? Remember, the Holy Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam has warned, if anyone does not refrain from indecent talking and evil acts, remember Allah Azza wa Jal does not need his remaining hungry and thirsty. He sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam has also said, fasting implies abstaining not only from eating and drinking, but also from useless and indecent talking. Therefore, as a fasting person refrains from eating and drinking, he should also abstain from sins such as lying, backbiting, suspicion, laying a false blame, misusing his tongue, etc. The Prophet of Rahmah, the intercessor of Ummah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam has also said, if someone fights you or abuses you, you should say to him, I am fasting. My dear viewers, these days if a person begins to fight another, he replies, shut up, etc. And we must never utter such words and should always remain humble. We can avoid such matters only when we make all of our body parts have fast, by preventing them from committing sins. The fast of body parts is necessary not only in the state of fast, but also throughout the entire life. This is only possible when we have fear of Allah Azza wa Jal in our hearts. We must ponder over the terrifying situation on the Day of Judgment. Everyone will be worried about themselves. The sun will be showering fire. Tongues will be hanging out of the mouths due to extreme thirst. Wife, mother and father will be avoiding the husband, son and children. Sinners will be caught, their mouths will be sealed, and their body parts will testify to their sins. It is mentioned in Surah Yasin, part 23, verse 65. Translation from Kanzul Iman. Today, we shall set seal on their mouths, and their hands will talk to us, and their feet will bear witness of their doings. My dear viewers, you must fear from the troubles and tribulations of the Day of Judgment and make ardent efforts to prevent the body parts from indulging in sins. Let's look at the details of fasting of the body. Let's look at the fasting of the eyes. My dear viewers, we should make our eyes fast by looking at only permissible things, such as the masajid, the Holy Quran, the tombs of the awliya, rahimahumullah ta'ala, scholars and pious people. If possible, we should see the Holy Kaaba, the sacred streets, valleys and mountains of Makkatul Mukarramah, زادها الله شرفا وتعظيما, the walls and the houses of Madinatul Munawwara, زادها الله شرفا وتعظيما, the green dome, minarets, deserts, gardens and the blessed masjid of Medina. My dear viewers, please do make your eyes fast. Everyone should make his eyes fast constantly. Never misuse the gift of Allah Azza wa Jal in watching what has been prohibited by Sharia, such as films, dramas, non-mahram women, attractive boys with lust, or anyone's private parts, and even one's own private parts unnecessarily. Similarly, do not watch games or amusements that make you heedless of divine remembrance. Do not peep into another person's house without his permission, nor look at someone else's letter or notebook without his permission. Remember, a hadith states, anyone who looks at his brother's letter without his permission looks in fire. Let's look at the fasting of the ears. Fast of the ears implies listening to only permissible voices and sounds such as the recitation of the Holy Quran, Sunnah inspiring speeches, useful talking, the adhan and the iqamah, reply to the adhan and the iqamah, etc. Never listen to drum beating, music, songs, useless and indecent jokes, backbiting, telling tales and faults of other people, etc. Do not eavesdrop anyone's private conversation. The Prophet of Rahmah, the intercessor of Ummah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam has said, if anyone listens secretly to the conversation of other people who resent it on the day of judgment, molten lead will be poured into his ears. Let's look at the fast of the tongue. The fast of the tongue implies uttering only permissible and good words, such as recitation of the Holy Quran, the dhikr, salat ala nabi, naat, dars, sunnah inspiring speeches, call to righteousness, useful and helpful religious speech, etc. Avoid useless talking. Beware. Never misuse the tongue in committing sins, such as abusing, lying, telling tales, etc. If a spoon becomes impure, it can be washed by pouring 1 or 2 glasses of water on it. But if the tongue becomes impure due to indecent speech, then the water of 7 oceans will not be able to purify it. Let's look at one of the incidents of the ill effects of the tongue's misuse. Sayyidina Anas radiallahu ta'ala an has narrated a hadith that one day the beloved and blessed Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam ordered his companions radiallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'een to fast and then said, "None of you is to do iftar until I permit you." So the people fasted. In the evening, the companions came individually to the noble Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam and said, "Ya Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam, I have fasted today. Please give me permission to do iftar." The noble Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam would allow them to do iftar. One of the companions radiallahu ta'ala an came and said, "Ya Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam, in my house there are 2 girls who have also fasted today. They feel shyness in coming here. Please allow them to do iftar." The Holy Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam turned his face away from him. He asked for the second time, but the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam turned his head away from him again. When he asked for the third time, the Holy Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam said, revealing the news of ghaib, "Those 2 girls have not fasted. How can they say they have fasted? They have been eating the flesh of people all day long. Go and tell them to vomit if they have fasted." The companion radiallahu ta'ala an went home and told them what the noble Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam said. When they vomited, blood and pieces of flesh came out of their mouths. The companion radiallahu ta'ala an returned to the Holy Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam and told him about the girl's condition. He sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam said, "I swear by the one in whose omnipotence my life is, if it had remained in their stomachs, fire would eat them, because they both backbit others." According to another hadith, when our beloved and blessed Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam turned his face away from the companion radiallahu ta'ala an, he radiallahu ta'ala an came in front of the noble Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam and said, "Ya Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam, they both have died or they are about to die." The Prophet of Rahmah, the intercessor of Ummah, the owner of Jannah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam, commanded him to bring the girls to him. When they came, he had a pot brought and ordered one of them to vomit in it. She vomited until the pot was full of blood and pieces of flesh. He sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam then ordered the other one to vomit. She also vomited as much. The noble Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam said, "They fasted from the things that Allah Azza wa Jal declared halal, in other words, eating, drinking, etc. But they broke their fast with the things that Allah Azza wa Jal declared haram." The thing is, they sat together and began to eat the flesh of people by backbiting. But dear viewers, this narration clearly proves that Allah Azza wa Jal has given the knowledge of ghaib to his beloved Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam, who is aware of his ummah's circumstances, which is why he sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam gave the news of ghaib about those two girls sitting in the masjid. Further, we have also learnt that committing sins such as backbiting can directly affect fast and can make fasting unbearably painful. Anyhow, whether one is in the state of fast or not, he must control his speech, or else it could lead to tragic consequences. If we adopt the following 3 principles, we would avoid many troubles. Number 1, evil talking is always bad. Number 2, silence is better than useless talking. Number 3, righteous talking is better than silence. Now let's look at the fast of hands. The fast of hands is that they only be used for virtuous acts, such as touching the Holy Quran in a state of purity and shaking hands with pious people. The noble Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam has said, when 2 persons who love each other for Allah's wajal shake hands and recite salat on Rasul, their previous sins are forgiven before they leave. If possible, stroke the head of an orphan affectionately, as one will be rewarded for every single hair he strokes. Beware, never misuse your hand in oppressing someone, taking bribery, stealing, etc. Let's look at the fast of the feet. The fast of feet implies using feet for permissible and good acts, such as walking to the masjid, or the shrines of saints, rahimahumullah ta'ala, visiting scholars and pious people, attending Sunnah inspiring ijtima, calling people to righteousness, traveling with Madani qafilas in the company of righteous people, and helping the needy. If only we would ever walk towards Makkatul Mukarramah, Zadahallahu sharafan wa ta'zima, and Madinatul Munawwara, Zadahallahu sharafan wa ta'zima, Mina, Arafat, Muzdalifah, and perform tawaf and sa'i. Never misuse the feet in walking towards the cinemas, the clubs, bad company, etc. If only we would walk towards Medina, uttering the word Medina. My dear viewers, in fact, we can attain the real blessings of fast when we make all of our body parts fast. Otherwise, we will not gain anything apart from thirst and hunger, as Sayyidina Abu Huraira radiyallahu ta'ala an has narrated. The our beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam has said, there are many people who attain nothing but thirst and hunger from their fast. And there are many people who acquire nothing from their salah except staying awake. Therefore, those who do not prevent their body parts from committing sins despite fasting fail to acquire the real spirituality of fast, and those who stay awake till late night, gossiping, chatting, etc., get nothing but the loss of their health and time, in addition to causing difficulty for their hereafter. I pray to Allah Azza that He gives us all the ability to fast with true humility and sincerity, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the ability that we avoid all the sins. آمين بجاه النبي الأمين صلى الله تعالى عليه وآله وسلم. صلوا على الحبيب صلى الله تعالى على محمد صلى الله تعالى عليه وآله وسلم.
Ramadan is a month of fasting and prayer. It brings us closer to Allah and each other. It brings us closer to Allah and each other.